The first encounter. The fleet was ready. Grand Admiral Sarix himself stood aboard the Imperial Glory, the pride of the Empire. Around him floated 50 warships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, each one armed with the best weapons the galaxy could build. The formation stretched like a wall of steel and fire across the stars. To Sarix, it was a beautiful sight. To him, it was proof that no rumor, no human trick could ever stand against the Empire. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Sarix ordered. His voice was cold, confident. For hours they waited in the dark. Sensors swept the void. The crew whispered nervously. Some prayed. But Sarix remained proud. "They won't come," he said with a smirk. "Humans are cowards." Then it arrived. The black shape slipped into view, silent and slow. No flash of engines, no grand entrance, just a massive shadow gliding into the light of a distant star. Its armor drank the glow, reflecting nothing. Its blue core pulsed faintly, steady as a heartbeat. The bridge of the Imperial Glory went quiet. Every officer felt it, the same fear that had shaken the Star Watcher. Sarix laughed, though his laughter was thin. "So this is the human toy? One ship? Against 50? He raised his hand. Fire. The void exploded. Dozens of cruisers unleashed beams of plasma, missiles, railgun slugs, and ion bursts. The darkness lit up with fire and death. For 5 minutes, the fleet poured everything they had into the silent shape. Explosions rocked the void. Alarms blared. The crews cheered. But when the fire cleared, the human ship still floated, untouched. Not a single scorch mark on its armor. Its blue light glowed stronger now, as if awakened. On the Imperial Glory's bridge, silence fell. Some officers trembled. Others looked away, unable to face what they saw. "Impossible," Sarix growled. "No shield can take that, no armor." Before he could finish, the human ship moved. Slowly at first, like a predator stretching its limbs. Then in a flash it cut across space. One moment it was distant. The next it was close enough to make the Imperial Glory's hull shiver. "Evasive maneuvers!" Sarix roared. But it was too late. The human dreadnought pulsed once. A ripple spread outward, invisible yet unstoppable. Imperial ships flickered. Engines died. Weapons froze. Whole fleets went silent, drifting helpless in space. The crew screamed as their systems blacked out. Ships collided, powerless to move. A carrier spun into darkness, smashing into 2 escorts. Fire spilled into the void. Sarix gripped his chair, his heart pounding. He could do nothing. His mighty fleet, his perfect formation, had been reduced to broken toys with a single strike. And then, the voice returned. It echoed through every ship, every comm, every heart. Calm, human. Leave. That was all it said. One word. No threats, no shouts, just an order. Some crews wept, others obeyed, scrambling to restart their engines, to flee into the dark. But most could not move at all. Their ships were dead, trapped. The dreadnought turned away. Its blue light dimmed. For a moment it seemed ready to vanish again, leaving the survivors to rot. But then it struck once more. Without firing a single missile, without launching a single fighter, the human ship unleashed beams of pure light. They cut through the void like blades, slicing 3 destroyers in half. Another pulse ripped an entire battleship into pieces, scattering debris across the stars. The humans had given their warning, and now they gave a taste of their power. When the dreadnought finally disappeared into the darkness, 30 ships were gone. 20 more drifted powerless. Only a handful managed to crawl back into hyperspace. The survivors carried terror with them. They carried the memory of blue light, of silence, of a voice that spoke with calm finality. On the Imperial Glory, Sarix sat in silence. His pride was shattered, his fleet destroyed, his name ruined. But worst of all, his mind could not. Stop replaying the voice, leave. It was not just an order, it was a promise. Back at the capital, panic spread. Survivors spoke of impossible technology, of shields that bent reality, of weapons that defied science. Some swore the ship could vanish and reappear at will. Others claimed it controlled gravity itself. The council tried to silence the rumors, calling them exaggerations, but fear spread faster than lies. Across the Empire, whispers filled the air. The humans are coming. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire tasted fear, and somewhere, in the shadows of space, the human dreadnought prepared for the next step. Secrets of Earth. The Galactic Empire could not ignore the truth anymore. Too many ships were lost, too many officers returned broken, their voices trembling as they spoke of the black human dreadnought. Yet in the capital, the council still fought to control the story. "It is a rogue weapon," Syrinx insisted during a closed meeting. His pride was still wounded, but his arrogance remained. Perhaps humans found an alien relic. They cannot build such things on their own. But deep down, he was not so sure. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Merchants swore they had seen more of the black ships, moving silently through trade routes. Smugglers told tales of human patrols showing up in places humans should not even reach. Some claimed Earth itself had become unreachable, its skies guarded by shadows. The Empire sent spies. One of them was Agent Core, a shapeshifter trained to infiltrate the most secret strongholds. Disguised as a miner, he traveled to the Sol system. For weeks he drifted through colonies and stations, observing carefully. What he saw chilled him to the core. Earth was no longer the weak planet he remembered. Orbiting the blue world were vast shipyards hidden in shadow, built inside asteroids hollowed out and chained together. Hundreds of workers moved like ants. Across the surface, welding plates of strange black metal, assembling shapes too massive to be freighters. Core saw skeletons of warships, black dreadnoughts, dozens of them, resting quietly in the docks. Each one had the same blue core glowing faintly, beating like a heart. The spy barely escaped alive. He sent his report back to the Empire, but it was fragmented and broken. Not one, many, building in silence. Humans preparing. The transmission ended in static, as if something had cut him off mid-sentence. When the council received the fragments, they fell into uneasy silence. Minister Kalra broke it first. "If this is true, then Earth has been building in secret for decades. They were never weak. They were waiting." The thought was terrifying. The Empire had always seen humans as a nuisance, a backwater species with no fleet, no colonies worth fearing. But now it seemed every assumption was wrong. The council ordered new investigations, more spies, more ships, but one by one, they vanished. Earth had become a fortress. Meanwhile, rumors spread among the common people of the Empire. Refugees fleeing border worlds claimed humans had liberated colonies enslaved for generations. They spoke of human soldiers walking side by side with alien rebels handing out food, protecting children. "The humans fight for freedom," one refugee whispered before dying. "Not for conquest. That is why they are dangerous. People will follow them." And people did. Across the galaxy, oppressed species began looking to humanity as a symbol. Graffiti appeared on city walls. "The black ships are coming." Secret meetings were held in basements, where rebels spoke of hope. For the first time, the Empire's enemies had a rallying cry. Inside the Empire's war labs, scientists worked, day and night, to understand how the human ships functioned. They replayed recordings, analyzed fragments of data. The results were terrifying. "It's not just technology," one scientist explained to Syrinx. "It's philosophy. Humans built these ships with stolen pieces of alien designs, yes, but they shaped them into something no one else would dare. Where others built weapons to conquer, humans built weapons to survive." Syrinx clenched his jaw. "Survive? Yes," the scientist whispered. "Their ships are designed to fight until the last breath. They bend energy itself. They twist space. They are not war machines, they are shields turned into swords." Syrinx left the lab in silence. His pride told him the Empire could still crush them, but in his heart, he knew the truth. Humans were different. Back on Earth, leaders watched, carefully. They did not speak to the galaxy, they did not boast of their strength. Their fleets remained hidden, silent, like wolves waiting in the dark. In a secret chamber beneath the United Earth Command, the human Admiralty gathered. Admiral Hayes, an old soldier with scars across his face, spoke firmly. "The Empire knows. Now," he said, "our silence is over. But remember, this fleet was not built for conquest. It was built because we had no choice. They called us weak. They tried to enslave us. They thought we would kneel. Instead, we built a fleet that no one could imagine." He looked around the table, at men and women from every nation of Earth, their faces lit by the soft blue glow of the holographic dreadnought above them. "We are not here to start a war," Hayes continued, "but if war comes to us, we will end it. And we will end it on our terms." The room fell silent. Outside, beyond Earth's skies, the black ships floated patiently in their docks, silent sentinels waiting for their call. The galaxy believed they had seen the first human dreadnought. The galaxy was wrong. It was only one of many. The silent arrival, the deep space near the border of the Galactic Empire was quiet, too quiet. The patrol crew aboard the Imperial Star Watcher had grown used to silence in this sector. It was called a dead zone, a place where nothing ever happened. For years, their only duty was to scan empty stars and write boring reports. But on this night, something changed. Lieutenant Varric leaned over the console, frowning. His scanner showed strange energy patterns, not the usual pirate signals, not the usual ghost readings, something new, something powerful. "Captain," Varric said carefully, "you may want to see this." Captain Drass moved closer, annoyed at first. He expected another false alarm. His crew often panicked over nothing. But as his eyes locked onto the scanner, his face hardened. The screen showed a massive object drifting into range. No transponder, code, no communication signal, no known design, just a dark shape moving silently through the stars. "What is that?" Varric whispered. The object kept growing on the screen, bigger than anything they had seen before. It was not an asteroid. It was not a freighter. It was a warship. "Run identification," Captain Drass ordered. The system tried. Dozens of designs flashed on the display, Empire warships, pirate vessels, even ancient relics. But nothing matched. The database could not identify it. At last, the system gave a single word. Origin, human. The entire bridge went silent. Varric laughed nervously. "Impossible. Humans don't build ships like this. They barely have patrol craft. They're not a naval species. This must be an error." But the ship continued moving closer, slow and deliberate, like a predator that did not need to rush. The crew stared, their breaths heavy in their throats. "Open communications," Captain Drass said. They sent signal after signal. No answer, no voice, only silence. The ship turned slightly, and light from a nearby star revealed its form. The crew gasped. It was black, darker than the void itself. Its armor plates shimmered like glass and steel woven together. Its size dwarfed anything the Empire had ever built. And at its core pulsed a strange blue light, beating like the heart of a living creature. "It's alive," one ensign whispered before quickly covering his mouth. Captain Drass clenched his fists. "Humans cannot have ships like this. Report to Central Command now." Varric sent the data instantly, but even as he did, he felt something was wrong. The scanner showed faint distortions around the ship like ripples in space. Gravity twisted, sensors failed. Weapon systems on the Star Watcher blinked red for no reason. "Sir," Varric said, panic rising in his throat. "Our systems, they're shutting down." Before Captain Drass could reply, the human ship released a low hum. It wasn't a weapon fire, not yet. But the vibration traveled through the Star Watcher's hull, shaking every bolt, every beam. Lights flickered. The crew covered their ears. Then a voice came. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was calm. It was human. "You should not have come here." The crew froze. The voice echoed in perfect galactic standard, yet it carried something different, something cold, something certain. Captain Drass swallowed hard. He wanted to bark orders, to show strength, but deep inside he felt fear he had never known before. "Identify yourself," Drass shouted. "This is the territory of the Galactic Empire. You have no authority here." There was silence. Then the massive human ship moved again. Not fast, not threatening, just drifting past them, like a predator ignoring prey too small to bother with. "Sir." "It's leaving," Varric whispered, half relieved and half terrified. But as the shadow of the human ship passed by, the Star Watcher's systems died completely. Engines, weapons, even life support, all black. For 5 long minutes, the Imperial crew floated helpless in the dark, staring at the ghostly blue glow of the human dreadnought moving away. When their systems finally rebooted, the ship was gone. Varric looked at his captain, his voice shaking. "What do we tell command?" Captain Drass hesitated. His hands trembled as he tightened them behind his back. He knew what command would say. They would laugh. They would call it a sensor glitch, a fairy tale. They would deny the truth. But the captain also knew what he had seen. A ship too powerful, too advanced, too silent to belong to the fragile species called humanity. His words were heavy, as if they would change everything. "Tell command." He paused, then exhaled. "Tell them the humans are not what we thought they were." The bridge crew looked at one another with wide eyes. None of them spoke. None of them needed to, because they all knew the truth. The silent arrival was not the end. It was only the beginning. The Empire's denial. The report from the Imperial Star Watcher reached Central Command within hours. It was marked urgent and classified. But in the grand halls of the Empire's capital, urgent reports were nothing new. They arrived daily. Pirates raiding colonies, border disputes, minor uprisings. The Empire always crushed them. The Empire always won. Grand Admiral Sarek stood at the center of the War Council chamber, his uniform polished, his voice sharp. He tapped the glowing datapad with one clawed finger and scoffed. "A human ship? A dreadnought? Don't waste our time." Several officials nodded. The council was full of arrogance. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled unchallenged. They believed no primitive world could ever challenge their fleets. Minister Kalra, a slender alien with pale eyes, leaned forward. "The Star Watcher's crew insists this vessel was larger than anything in our registry. They claim it shut down their systems, without firing a single shot." Laughter erupted across the chamber. One counselor slammed the table. "Impossible. Humans are dirt eaters, farmers, miners. They do not create war machines. They barely survive their own civil wars." Another added, "If humans had such technology, why haven't they used it before? Why remain silent all these years?" The room buzzed with voices, all mocking, all dismissing, but not everyone laughed. Fleet Commander Rovan sat quietly at the edge of the chamber, his face hard. He had fought humans before, decades ago, during a border skirmish on a frozen colony. He remembered their determination, their strange ability to adapt quickly. Even when their weapons failed, they fought with fists, with knives, with whatever they had. They were relentless. Rovan finally spoke. His voice cut through the noise. "You mock them, but the humans do not play games. If this ship exists, we must treat it as a threat." The chamber went silent for a moment, but only for a moment. Then, the mocking resumed, louder than before. Grand Admiral Sarek smirked. "One ship cannot threaten the Empire. We have entire fleets, hundreds of battleships, thousands of cruisers. If the humans dare, we will crush them in days." The council cheered at his words, but Commander Rovan saw fear in their eyes. Even if they denied it, the seed of doubt had been planted. Later, outside the chamber, whispers filled the corridors. Servants and aides repeated rumors. A ghost ship, a human monster, a vessel that silences stars. Fear spread, faster than official reports. Meanwhile, the crew of the Star Watcher sat in interrogation rooms. Officers demanded they change their statements. "You saw an asteroid," one interrogator insisted. "Your systems glitched. You imagined the voice." But the crew refused to change their story. Each one described the same thing: a massive black ship with a glowing heart of blue light, and a human voice that spoke with quiet authority. One young ensign broke down crying during questioning. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "We weren't ignored. We were spared. That ship could have destroyed us, but it didn't. Why?" Her words unsettled the officers. They ended the session quickly. Back in the council chamber, Minister Calra presented another troubling report. Trade convoys near the human frontier had vanished. Patrols sent to investigate never returned. Only broken signals, static, cries for help, floated back through space. "Coincidence," Sarek said with a wave of his hand. "Pirates, rebels, nothing more." But then came the survivors. A small frigate limped back into Empire space, its hull torn apart, its crew half dead. They spoke of a single ship, one human dreadnought, that had appeared out of nowhere and shredded an entire squadron in minutes. 50 ships, the wounded captain gasped before dying. 50 ships. Gone. The council fell into stunned silence. For the first time, denial was harder to hold. But pride was a dangerous master. Sarek bared his teeth. "So be it. If humans dare to show us one of their toys, we will smash it. I will lead a fleet myself, and I will drag their ship into our capital for all to see." The chamber roared with approval. To them, it was entertainment, a chance to humiliate humanity. Only Commander Roven stayed silent. His eyes were fixed on the star map glowing above the chamber. He knew what the others would not admit. This was no game. This was no rumor. This was war. That night, in the lower districts of the capital, alien merchants whispered to one another. Smugglers told stories of a black warship that blinked in and out of space like a ghost. Refugees claimed to see human patrols on worlds they never dared enter before. The people were afraid. Fear spread in shadows, even as the Empire's leaders stood tall in the light. The humans had arrived. The Empire denied it, but denial would not save them. The turning point fear spread faster than light. In the far colonies of the Empire, people whispered of the black human dreadnought. Some swore they saw it glide past their skies. Others claimed it appeared only long enough to destroy an entire patrol fleet, then vanished into the void. No matter the story, one truth remained: the humans were no longer weak. On the capital world, the council struggled to keep control. They pushed propaganda through every channel. "The human ship is a trick. The Empire is strong. Fear nothing." But the more they denied, the more the people doubted. Markets grew quiet. Merchants refused to travel near human borders. Miners left their posts, afraid of being stranded when the black ships appeared. Even soldiers began to whisper in barracks, wondering if they could survive a war against an enemy who fought with shadows. For the first time, the Empire's rule began to crack. Across the galaxy, rebel groups stirred. On the mining world of Koresh, enslaved workers painted human symbols across the walls. They spoke of freedom, of hope. "The humans fight for us," they told one another. "They are not conquerors. They are liberators." The spark grew into fire. When an Imperial garrison tried to crush a protest, something unexpected happened. A black shape appeared above the sky. One human dreadnought, silent as always, hovered for minutes. It never fired. It never spoke. But the message was clear. The Empire pulled its troops back in fear and the rebels cheered. "The humans are with us," they shouted. News spread quickly. More uprisings followed. Every time the black ships appeared, not to conquer, but to protect. Not to enslave, but to watch. The people began to believe the humans were something greater, something unstoppable. Inside the council chamber, chaos ruled. "They are making us look weak," shouted Minister Calra. "Every time they show their ship, we lose. More colonies, they don't even need to fire, they just exist." Grand Admiral Sarek slammed his fist on the table. "Then we must destroy them before they spread further. Assemble another fleet, larger this time." But Commander Roven finally rose, his patience gone. His voice thundered across the chamber. "You still do not understand. This is not about ships. This is about belief. The people no longer believe in us, they believe in the humans. The chamber went silent. Even Syrinx had no answer. Meanwhile, in secret chambers beneath Earth, the human admirals discussed their growing influence. Admiral Hayes studied reports of rebellions, his face grim. "We never asked for this," he said. "But the galaxy sees us as their only hope. The more the Empire tries to crush them, the stronger their faith in us grows." Another admiral leaned forward. "Then perhaps faith is our greatest weapon." Hayes frowned. "Faith alone cannot stop fleets. The Empire will strike again, and when they do, we must be ready to reveal what we've truly built." The others nodded, and so the humans prepared. Across the galaxy, secret shipyards activated. The skeletons of dreadnoughts began to wake, their blue cores pulsing brighter. Crews trained in silence, soldiers sharpened their weapons, and Earth itself became a fortress waiting to unleash its fury. The Empire did not know the scale of what was coming, but they were beginning to feel it. On the border world of Dresna, an Imperial fleet arrived to crush a rebellion. They outnumbered the rebels 10-1. Tanks rolled through the streets. Soldiers dragged civilians into cages. The Empire wanted to make an example. Then the sky darkened. One black dreadnought descended, larger than mountains, casting shadows across the entire city. The Empire's soldiers froze, their tanks stalled. Weapons refused to fire. And then, for the first time, the humans sent a message not just to soldiers, but to everyone. A voice rang out across the skies, calm and clear. "You are not alone. Stand." The people erupted. They grabbed weapons. They fought back. They surged through the streets. The Empire's soldiers broke, fleeing in terror. The dreadnought did not fire a single shot, but its presence changed everything. The turning point had arrived. In the weeks that followed, rebellions spread like wildfire. Whole systems rose against the Empire. And everywhere the humans stood in the shadows, their black ships watching, protecting, guiding. In taverns and marketplaces, in deserts and frozen plains, one phrase became the anthem of the oppressed. The humans are coming. The Empire had the larger fleets, the stronger numbers, the older history. But humanity had something greater. They had belief, they had survival, and now they had the galaxy's hope. And hope was something no empire could ever destroy. Retribution, unleashed, the Empire had reached its breaking point. Rebellions blazed across its colonies, one after another. Entire worlds slipped from imperial grip, inspired by the silent appearance of the human dreadnoughts. Fear spread among soldiers, whispers among citizens, doubt among the council. But the Empire was proud. It would never kneel. And so, they gathered their might. On the capital world, Grand Admiral Syrinx stood before the galaxy's largest fleet ever assembled. Nearly 200 warships formed a wall of steel and fire. Carriers released swarms of fighters. Dreadnoughts of the Empire glowed with energy, and banners of domination flew bright across the stars. "This is the end of their illusions," Syrinx declared to the council. "We will destroy them in one strike. Humanity will crawl back into its dirt, and the galaxy will remember who rules." His voice was strong. His eyes were not. The fleet surged toward the human frontier. Worlds trembled as the sky filled with imperial metal. The council broadcasted their strength across the stars, declaring victory before battle even began. But the humans were waiting. At first, only one ship appeared, the same black dreadnought, silent and massive. Its blue heart pulsed slowly, like the calm before a storm. The Empire laughed. "One ship? Against 200? Syrinx sneered. "End this." The fleet unleashed fire. The void shook with thousands of missiles, beams, and plasma blasts. The stars themselves seemed to flicker. For minutes, the human ship disappeared behind a wall of explosions. And then the light cleared. The dreadnought was still there, untouched. Its core now burned brighter, as if feeding on the fury of the Empire itself. The laughter died. Then came the shadows. From the darkness behind the first dreadnought, others appeared. 10, 20, 50, 100. Black ships with glowing blue cores slipping out of hidden wormholes, rising from cloaked silence surrounding the Imperial Armada on every side. The galaxy had thought there was only one. Now, they saw the truth. Humanity had built a fleet. Syrinx's heart froze. His voice cracked for the first time. This cannot be. But it was. The battle began. The human fleet moved as one. No wasted motion. No panic, no chaos. Their weapons were beyond comprehension. Beams of pure light sliced through Imperial dreadnoughts, splitting them like paper. Gravity wells bent space, dragging cruisers into each other, crushing them into fireballs. Ion storms burst across the void, disabling fighters by the thousands. The Empire tried to resist. Carriers launched wave after wave of interceptors, but they were swallowed in seconds. Their shields failed, their weapons flickered. For every shot they fired, 5 ships were lost. Syrinx roared, demanding his captains hold the line, but his orders fell on silence. Communication was drowned in human signals. His proud fleet, 200 strong, was being torn apart, and through it all the human ships never spoke. They did not taunt. They did not boast. They unleashed retribution without a word. On the ground, across a dozen rebel worlds, people watched the battle through stolen transmissions. They saw the impossible unfold. The mighty Empire's greatest fleet crumbled before humanity's rise. Crowds cheered. Children pointed to the skies. Elders wept with joy. "The humans are here," they whispered. "The humans are fighting for us." Back in the council chamber, ministers screamed at each other. Some demanded surrender, others demanded more fleets. But deep inside they knew it was too late. Because the humans were not fighting for conquest. They were fighting to end the Empire's rule. The battle lasted less than an hour. Out of 200 Imperial ships, fewer than 20 limped away, broken and fleeing into the void. The rest were reduced to fire and silence. As the last explosions faded, the human fleet stood alone in the dark, their black hulls glimmering, their blue hearts beating in unison. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw who truly held power. Then, at last, a single human message echoed across every surviving Imperial channel. Calm, cold, final. This is retribution. Do not test us again. The words carried across the stars. Every soldier heard them. Every rebel heard them. Every citizen of the Empire heard them, and the galaxy changed forever. For centuries, the Empire had been the predator. But now, it had become the prey. Humanity had unleashed its fury, and nothing would ever be the same. The New Order. The stars were silent after the battle. Wreckage of the once mighty Imperial fleet drifted across the void, glowing with dying fire. Broken hulls turned slowly. Lifeless bodies floated in the darkness, and the proud banners of the Empire burned to ash. What had been the greatest armada in galactic history now lay in ruins, shattered in less than an hour by the humans. Across the galaxy, shock turned into awe. Rebel colonies erupted in celebration. Bells rang in mining towns. Fires blazed in city squares, and enslaved workers raised their fists to the sky. For the first time in generations, they felt something dangerous, something forbidden, hope. But inside the capital, the council chamber, was chaos. Ministers shouted at one another, demanding answers, demanding vengeance, demanding surrender. Their voices shook with fear, not power. The once glorious rulers of the galaxy were now little more than frightened children. Grand Admiral. Syrinx stood at the center, broken. His uniform was torn, his pride gone. He had seen it with his own eyes, the black human fleet, endless and merciless. He had felt the silence of their weapons, the calm of their voice. And he knew. "It is over," Syrinx whispered. "The Empire has fallen." No one dared answer him. Meanwhile, the humans moved carefully. Their fleet did not rush to conquer worlds or enslave populations. They did not broadcast threats. Instead, their dreadnoughts drifted silently through key systems, watching, protecting. Where the Empire had ruled with fear, humanity ruled with presence. On rebel worlds, human soldiers walked among the people. They shared food, they gave medicine. They trained locals to defend themselves. They did not act like conquerors. They acted like guardians. And that, more than their ships, won the galaxy's heart. In a quiet chamber on Earth, Admiral Hayes looked over the reports. His scarred face was tired, but his eyes burned with determination. The galaxy sees us as their saviors. One officer said. Hayes shook his head. No, we are not saviors. We are survivors. We built these ships because the galaxy left us no choice. We never wanted to rule. But now... He paused, his voice heavy. Now we must lead. The officers nodded. They all knew the truth. The galaxy would not go back. The Empire's chains had been broken, and someone had to fill the void. If not humanity, then chaos would consume everything. And so a new order began to rise. World by world, system by system, humans brought peace. They allowed rebels to govern themselves, but under human protection. They dismantled the Empire's slave markets, tore down its war factories, and freed billions who had known only oppression. The galaxy trembled, not from fear now, but from change. Children in the streets of alien cities carried small flags of Earth alongside their own. Old rebels told stories of the black ships arriving in their darkest hour. Songs were written of the silent fleet and the blue hearts that beat against the void. But not everyone was ready to accept the new order. Pockets of the Empire still resisted. Broken admirals clung to power, swearing they would rise again. Skirmishes flared on the edges of human territory. Yet each time, the outcome was the same. A shadow would fall across the stars. A dreadnought would arrive and the resistance would crumble. And through it all, the humans never boasted. They never declared themselves rulers. They simply acted. They fought when needed, protected when asked, and rebuilt where others had destroyed. This quiet strength terrified the last remnants of the Empire, even more than brute force ever could. In one final broadcast, sent across every known world, the HFY humans spoke, not with threats but with resolve. The voice was calm, steady, human. The age of fear is over. The galaxy belongs to its people, not to tyrants. If you seek freedom, you will find us. If you seek war, we will end you. This is our promise. Billions heard those words. Billions believed. The Galactic Empire, once eternal, crumbled into history. Its monuments fell, its armies dissolved, its pride turned to dust. In its place, humanity stood, not as conquerors, but as the center of a new alliance. A galaxy where humans and aliens worked together, watched over by the black dreadnoughts that no one dared to challenge. On the bridge of the first human dreadnought, a young officer gazed out at the stars. "We've changed everything," she whispered. Admiral Hayes stood beside her, his scar catching the glow of the blue core. He nodded slowly. "Yes. But remember, this is not victory. This is responsibility." The officer smiled faintly. "And if the galaxy forgets," Hayes's eyes hardened, "then we will remind them." The stars stretched out before them, endless and waiting. Humanity had risen from the shadows, and now the galaxy trembled not with fear, but with respect. The new order had begun, and at its heart, pulsing in silence, was the will of humankind, unyielding, unstoppable, eternal.